Yeah.
And the victim is a husband, and the victim is a father.
So there's a couple interesting parts of that. First of all, the continued reference to social media. There's a hint of like, yeah, we got to do something about this social media problem, right? And look, on the one hand, I can understand the perspective of like, there truly is a lot of just misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, Nazi lies, whatever, shit that spreads like a cancer, right? And it shouldn't. That's true. But any attempt to sort of regulate it, you're probably creating a bigger problem than what you're solving, right? Because who's going to watch The Watchmen? How do we know? Oh, everybody who makes every rule to determine what's acceptable and what's not. How do we know it's true? Like, I honestly think the best you could do is something like Community Notes, and even Community Notes misses from time to time. Like, anytime they've ever said I got something wrong, they were wrong, obviously, right? So the social media part is interesting, but the rest of it, man, they're really pulling out all the stops to try to not have the deeper conversation, right? And even the host was trying a little bit, like, what about this angle? What about that angle? And just not taking the bait. Like, the whole point, the reason why the reaction is what it is, and this is what these people will never admit, is United Healthcare is a criminal organization. They have the blood of tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands on their hands. That's why the reaction is what it is. Because it's like, okay, the criminal, gangster, mafia cartel, which is a meat grinder for human beings, which rejects claims and people die or leads to people going bankrupt, the CEO of that company got killed. And people almost feel like, okay, you got one person down on this end of the equation, but the company itself has tens of thousands of innocent victims that they've created. And so there's just no sympathy, right? That was the overarching reaction that I saw. It wasn't even people being like, hooray, murder, we love murder. That wasn't it. Like, the point of it was more, I just don't feel sympathy in the same way that if some plantation owner got murked by a slave, you'd feel like, like, what'd you expect, right? Like, what'd you think was going to happen, homie? Like, certain things, certain industries are just by their very nature cruel and criminal and violent and malevolent, right? Like, if somebody were to take out the head of the IDF, how do you think people are going to react? Oh, he was a father and he was a son and he was amazing. He really liked eating Subway sandwiches. Like, people are just going to be like, play shitty games, win shitty prizes, right? Like what'd you expect? You're the head of an army that's literally committing a genocide as we speak, right? And in the case of the health insurance industry, I underestimated the American public. They genuinely and sincerely know already that whole industry is bullshit, that the whole thing is a fucking scam, that the whole thing is a mafia, that the whole thing is an unnecessary middleman that price gouges you and denies you care whenever and however they can. People really get that. People really understood that. And it is not like you saw people who were on the left, on the center, and on the right, all with the same reaction. Go read the comment section on the Ben Shapiro video or the comment section on the Matt Walsh video. Everybody's like, yeah, that's what it is. You had Bill Burr, the comedian, came out and was like, look, I'm happy that CEOs are afraid again. Because you did see there for a little bit after, I don't know if it's continued, but you did see for a little bit after, suddenly all the claims were getting approved. Where, the executives were like, shit, okay, what we're doing actually has consequences and is actually affecting people's lives, and we can't just get away with anything and everything we want to do. And all of a sudden you started seeing a bunch of claims being approved, right? So the idea that they have no interest in having the longer conversation, the deeper conversation. Because, by the way, there's an easy way to prevent any future Luigi Mangionis from happening. It's called single-payer Medicare for all. If you don't have health insurance executives exploiting the entire country, price gouging them, robbing them, and denying care on the back end where some people end up dying or some people go bankrupt, if that job didn't exist, there is nobody that anybody would feel the urge to react like that to them, right? That wouldn't happen. the industry would be cleaned up. The industry would be pure. There would be no health insurance industry. Again, every single developed country has one version or another of a universal healthcare system. And the best way to do it is a single payer Medicare for all system. The government is the single insurer. It comes out of your tax money. So when you get sick, you get help. It's fully paid for. That's the end of the conversation. It's just our tax money takes care of everything. And it saves money, and everybody gets covered, and there's better health outcomes, and we know all of these things. And so the way you prevent anybody from doing this horrible violence is to not create the conditions that led to that horrible violence, right? And are you still going to have lone nuts from time to time who do murders and shit? Of course, you're never going to fully eliminate crime, fully eliminate murder or whatever. But you greatly reduce in the aggregate the number of instances like this that would happen. You know, I said it when this first happened. I was like, I'm surprised this hasn't happened a dozen times already. It's just that some people, you know, you see the right-wing version of this is when somebody goes and shoots up like an FBI building. We saw that a couple times in the past. And it's like they say, oh, my life sucks. I'm blaming the deep state. This is somebody just connecting the dots differently and realizing like, oh, health insurance is a scam. And, you know, he went through a whole back pain struggle. And we still don't know all the details, but the core of it is exactly what we thought it was from the beginning, right? So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, but it looks like they're going to crack down however they can. I don't think they like... what the reaction was to them was a real wake-up call, but the wake-up call wasn't, holy shit, we need to do institutional reform to make the system not criminal. The reaction was, we need to crack down harder on the population, and we need to crack down on freedom of speech, and we need to go after people who had the reaction of, I have no sympathy for the CEO. So that's the goal. Make an example out of Luigi. This is why we also saw that woman in Florida, Lakeland, Florida, she got arrested after she was on the phone with Blue Cross Blue Shield and her claim got denied. And she basically said, deny, defend, depose, you guys are next. And they said, that's a direct threat of violence. And they locked her up. They're trying to show everybody none of this is going to be tolerated in any way, shape, or form. Even just having a reaction to it, which is the common reaction. That's unacceptable. We're not going to allow it. And so look out, man, especially under a government like under Trump. He's already shown the instinct to be authoritarian. Seb Gorka is going to be his, what was it, counterterrorism czar, I think it was. And he was saying anybody who reacted with sympathy is either terrorist or terrorist adjacent. And so now this guy's under Biden, to be fair, but like they'll even ramp it up more under the next administration. And so that's not good. That's not good. By the way, final point, I say this every time we have this conversation about this issue. Go watch the documentary from Michael Moore called Sicko. You won't regret it. It doesn't matter what your politics are going into that. When you walk out, you will be radicalized on the issue of U.S. healthcare. And you'll say, oh, well, on this issue, I'm for single payer Medicare for all because this is unacceptable. Go watch that documentary. I guarantee you'll have that reaction. And what these guys want to do here is not give people real solutions, not give people the answer. So we don't have more Luigi Mangionis. They want to use a punitive approach on the back end as opposed to actually fixing the underlying root problems, right? It's like with our foreign policy. The CIA knows about this notion of backlash, right? Blowback actually is what they call it, where it's an unintended consequence of an interventionist foreign policy where you do something overseas, you do a war, do a bombing campaign, and then the reaction to that could be more violence directed at us, right? This is where you get Al-Qaeda in many respects, ISIS. And so the idea is to not create more terrorism, we need to not do our terrorism in the first place, right? And it's the same thing with this. If you want to not create more Luigi Mangionis, have a healthcare system and a health insurance system that's fair, reasonable, and intelligent and covers everybody and does it at that lower price point. Have a single payer Medicare for all system. And people aren't going to be pissed at somebody who's exploiting you in the middle and price gouging you in the middle because that person doesn't exist, right? So let's get to the core of the problem as opposed to, after the fact, just doing a punitive approach. Because effectively all they're doing is protecting the status quo. And that'll mean we still have 68,000 people dying every year because they don't have basic health care. That'll mean medical bills are still the number one cause of bankruptcy and won't actually address the core of the problem. The institutional violence, the organized system of violence that exists That is a